is up, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Geekcast. This is a little bit different than what we normally do. This is the Batman vs. Superman spoiler cast. So basically, this is your warning. If you haven't seen the movie, stop listening right now, move along, and come back after you've seen the movie. We're going to kind of go full spoilers with this one, and we're just going to talk all about the movie, what we liked, what we didn't like, all that good stuff. So first off, let me welcome my good friend from Scotland, Alan. What is up?
I am the knight.
Idiot. And then we brought in Joey Ferris from Ferris Wheel Productions and Game and Talk Podcast. What is up, Joey? How are you?
I just woke up. Yeah, that's good.
Every time we have you on, you just wake up.
Because I'm Pacific Standard Time is the worst, but it's the best at the same time. So
it is awesome because you guys get, like, when midnight launches happen in the East Coast, you guys are able to get them at 9 o'clock, aren't you?
Yeah, it's bittersweet.
Yeah, you damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You get to watch the Super Bowl at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and not really waste your whole time. So
oh well.
All right, so we're here for Batman vs. Superman, The Dawn of Justice, and we'll just start off around the room. Alan, we'll start with you. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you think?
I am neither for nor against the film. I kind of came out of it feeling like I did when I came out of Man of Steel.
Okay. Joey, what about you?
I'm in the party that liked it. I came out of the theater instantly because I saw it on Monday at an advanced screening, and I was like, oh hell yeah, everyone's gonna be. All the haters just can suck it, and then like when the reviews came in, I'm like, damn it. But yeah, can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, myself, I liked it. A lot of people know that I'm a big DC fan, so I have my feelings on it, and I have my feelings on why people didn't like it, and I'm very stern with my feelings of why people didn't like it and my beliefs. So, but we'll kick off. Alan, you didn't like it. I kind of didn't. That wasn't a shocker to me. I didn't feel like you were ever going to like it.
I did not like it, and I didn't like it. It's a weird film. There are, because I know we're kind of going to break it down. I'm going to kind of lay out my feeling.
Go ahead.
In that film are two half-decent films. That's how I kind of came out of it when I look at it, and I've been going over it in my head. So I don't want to kind of overtake because I know I'm the Marvel guy. I'm outnumbered, but I've got some it's constructive criticism I have of the film. It's not just like the Beyond guys last night who were just hating it. I have constructive reasons for not enjoying it.
Yeah.
That was obnoxious.
See, I feel like the stuff that I've read from people makes absolute no sense to me why they don't like it. And here's my feeling. A lot of what they did was an answer to the critics and the crying that took place after Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. There was a huge outcry for all the destruction that took place in Man of Steel. Yeah. I didn't understand it because when you watched Avengers, they were destroying New York City the same, and nobody had a problem with that. But everybody seemed to have a problem with the Man of Steel when, super aliens are coming in and fighting. Supermen are fighting Superman, and they're destroying Smallville and Metropolis, and everybody has a problem with that. And I'm like, I don't get that.
Devil's advocate on the Avengers thing. Mm-hmm. It was like, yeah, they're destroying New York City, but like in the Avengers, they played that whole, oh look, they're shooting at the people, but nobody's getting shot. It's magic. It's PG-13 magic, everybody. Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, like, why does Superman kill Zod? To stop him from killing humans, So I mean, like, there is, like, he did try his best to do what he did and to stop it. It's still a young version of Superman. He's still learning his powers. He's still trying to figure out what's going on against warriors. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of what Zack Snyder did in this movie was to answer the critics per se and go, hey, there was destruction in the first one. That's what causes the hate between Batman and Superman, where Batman's like, he needs to be stopped. And I feel like Batman's whole premise is it's a fear factor. It's he's afraid of what Superman can do to the world. So he's out to stop it because he doesn't want to see the world destroyed at the blink of an eye. You also have to remember, like, this is necessarily like the first time they're seeing this guy, you know, like 2 years earlier they're watching all this. I mean, it's knee-jerk reactions. For people to go, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Look at 9/11. 9/11 terrorists come in, and we're, what, 10 years later, and we're still scared to death of terrorists, and we're still hunting them down and doing all this stuff and taking people's rights and all that stuff. It's the same theory. You know, I mean, that's what I like about these movies. They're trying to ground them, per se, which is difficult to do because it's a superhero movie. Like,
exactly.
You know, there's nobody that flies around. There's nobody that, like, there's no billionaires that have, like, all these toys. That
Not yet, anyway.
Like, so, I mean, but they're doing their best to ground it the way it is. That's the way I feel. Okay, let's do this. Do you feel like the critics are being unfair, or they're being fair with their analysis?
I think it's a combination of not being a huge fan of superhero films, and yet they give Marvel movies like the benefit of the doubt all the time because apparently Marvel's like the I enjoy Marvel movies to the listeners who are like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but to me it's like people are afraid of what they don't understand, Clark.
Yeah.
that line in the movie. It's just, I think the way that the movie was structured, because I think that's what one of the problems a lot of people had with it, it was structured almost like exactly like a comic book, if you think about it. Because people complained that it jumped around way too much, and I'm like, that's what happens in comic books.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about the movie, is that it was structured almost like one. Granted, they could have added an extra layer of story to it, because there are some things that I think it just moved a little too fast at times, especially for being a 2.5-hour movie, which was weird. Yeah. Which I'm going to get that 3-hour R-rated director's cut.
Yeah, so am I.
Awesome. Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out.
Alan, how do you feel with the critics compared to the movie? Do you think they were fair, or do you think they were unfair?
After seeing it, and after reading just a few reviews, structurally, I kind of see where they're coming from. The film, it's a bit of a mess. Okay, I get what you're saying about Marvel seeming to be given the benefit of the doubt, but I think at the end of the day, the problem I've got with Marvel movies is they're all very samey now. They kind of play it safe with the same kind of structure.
They're all cookie cutters. They're doing the same thing every movie.
True, but structurally they're good films. They hit the same kind of beats, but structurally, when you compare, you could even take one of the weaker Marvel movies, compare it to Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman as a film is a mess. It's just they've tried to do what the Marvel tried to do with Iron Man 2, which was too much in too short a space of time.
I think they had no choice.
Structurally suffers.
I think because of the way they were going, the direction they were going, and meaning like this is the precursor to the Justice League movie. So I feel like they needed to do quite a bit.
They had to do quite a bit, but they had a choice. They could have. I think there was always this argument. There was also a rumor they're going to split it into 2 movies. I think this film suffers for being one movie.
But I think that splitting into 2 movies is garbage. Anytime they've
split, then you're going to hate the Justice League, then, aren't you?
No, because the Justice League is going to be multiple movies. It's
2 movies.
But what I'm saying is they're not. But what I'm saying is this: they're not filming it and going, here's a movie, and now we're going to break it in half. They should have. No, but when has that ever worked? Look at The Matrix. It was garbage.
Yeah, but
when they did that with 2 was a good movie. 3 was horrible, and that's because they broke the movies in half. They did it the same thing with Back to the Future 2 and 3. 2 is a good movie. 3 is garbage. Anytime they do that, where they film it all together and they make it one giant movie and then they break it in half, it's garbage. It's never going to work.
If it's done
it worked with Harry Potter, but I'm just that they.
But that's one of the few.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm with you on this one. I'm just saying I'm a Harry Potter fan, so whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Justice League, they're having movies in between Justice Leagues that are gonna like.
Yeah, we're getting Wonder Woman.
Exactly. Like kind of like Infinity War is gonna have part 1 and 2, but movies in between.
Yeah, I feel like they could have tightened up. That I'll give you. There's things that happen in this movie that I feel like should have been tightened up. Here's an example. In the movie, and see, okay, so in the movie, there's a scene when the senator's in the courtroom and she's talking before the explosion and all that. I feel like, here's the cup. What should have happened is she's talking, she looks down, sees the cup, she should have stopped, she should have turned the glass, read what it said on there, and then boom, the place should have blew up.
Yeah. That's
they didn't need to. Yeah, they didn't need to go back, forth. But that to me doesn't ruin the film. I just feel like that's a timing issue and could have tightened up. Another tighten up that I felt like should have happened was when Batman is going through the computer files and he sees the 4 Justice League members pop up, and then he looks at the pictures and shows the pictures of Wonder Woman. I feel like he should have looked at the 1 or 2 that he did originally and then stopped and let it go. Move forward in the movie. When she looks at them all, she should have just looked at the one of her as Wonder Woman, and then she could have clicked the other ones, and that would have been fine. The one thing I'll agree with Greg Miller that he said was the way they showed Aquaman was a bit pandering.
Yeah.
But it got a reaction in my theater. Like, when people saw Jason Momoa, the place went nuts. So my feeling was yes, it was pandering, but they were going for a reaction because that's all anybody talked about leading into is, what does he look like as Aquaman? What does he look like? So I think they wanted to show what he looked like as Aquaman.
Yeah.
A lot of people had a problem with him introducing the Justice League that way. I loved it. Other than Cyborg, every one of those characters got a reaction. Yeah.
Exactly. Nobody knew who the hell Cyborg was.
That's the problem. A lot of people don't know who Cyborg is.
I know, but that was great. That intro was grerit for it because we get a little bit of a slice of his origin story from the dude from
awesome.
Terminator. Yeah, the dude from Terminator 2 was making him. That was great.
That's exactly what I thought was the guy that they were trying to kill a Terminator 2 for creating the Terminator. He's creating Cyborg. This is awesome.
It's incredible.
One way or the other, he is going to destroy mankind.
Exactly. Let's take this piece by piece. What's something that you had an issue with, Alan?
I think I'll just start with the big one, right? Because I think if I don't, it'll get lost. Superman. This is technically a sequel to Man of Steel.
Exactly.
This is meant to be a sequel to Man of Steel, right?
Somewhat. I don't feel like it's I think they started off as a sequel to Man of Steel, but then they quickly changed gears.
The thing is,
on some degree,
all the characters from that film, there was no growth. Superman, I'm going to say this, I don't know who I'm going to anger, sorry, nearly swore. Superman is boring in this film. He is flat, there's no reason. They try to set him up as a bad guy. At least that's how we're meant to view it. The world seemed to view him as some sort of bad guy, but all he does is good things. They try to do this framing thing, and it's like, well, why? Everyone got shot. Superman isn't flying about with Mac-10s shooting people. He is just flying and saving the day. The only bit where I was expecting this kind of grand moment of Superman kind of giving depth, kind of growing, was in the Senate. I was expecting a cool moment for Cavill to have a character moment of him laying out who he is and why he's here and what he's all about. And it's like, but I disagree there. I felt like the whole time they're painting him as the villain, and that's what they're trying to do. Like, they do that in Arrow. When Arrow first started, Arrow kills people. Superman's doing nothing.
But they don't. But let me ask you a question. You watch a guy destroy a town, level it, whether he's trying to defend or not. You don't know. And here's the thing. Look at today. And that's where I get to the point where they're trying to ground it to today's world. Today, the same stuff happens. You don't know what the media is giving you and what they're not. And it's the same thing.
We're talking about a comic book movie, and where they had this opportunity to have a character moment that Cavill did not get in that whole film. That was the scene in the Senate. As I say, that would have been the moment for him to have this, which we technically never got it in Man of Steel either, was this moment to the world of who I am and what I'm about and why I'm trying to be a force of good. They blow it up, and I get it, visually, it's a great shot of the Senate exploding. But we lost out on a moment. We lost out on that character developing from Man of Steel, and that's what annoys me about this film. Is it's a great Batman movie, but as a follow-up to Man of Steel, there's no growth for him. There's nothing. He is the same.
Let me ask you a question. When they blow up the Senate, what did you feel? What came out of that for you?
Well, pretty much what I said. It's visually striking. That's
all you got out of that.
Yeah, because as I say, we lost a moment.
See, I felt like the moment was when he's standing there with flames all around him, and you could see he's physically upset because of what just happened, because he realizes, I just got played. Lex Luthor played me.
Yeah.
And
no, he knows he got played, and it's that.
You can tell that he's inside. He's crying for humanity because he realizes these people don't want me here. They don't care what I'm doing. It doesn't matter the good that I do. They don't care. And that's because, and if you watch, right after that, he goes to Smallville to talk to his mom.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you could still have that, but they didn't give him a moment. He never has, in this film, a moment. There's no Superman...
What is your definition of a moment?
Right. In Man of Steel, Superman, it's about him revealing himself to the world. Okay? Mm-hmm. We have the Metropolis bit. The fallout from that is kind of carried over into this film. He never has a point to the world of saying, giving his... So we get these smaller moments whereby he is seen, we get the quick cuts of him saving the people on the roof. We get him saving the folk from the spaceship blowing up. But we never get to see him declaring who he is to people. We never get to see him grow and kind of account for what happened.
When does Superman... Wait. When does Superman ever do that?
Right. But if they're building it up in this film...
No. That's not the answer. That's not the question. No. In all of comic books... Wait a minute. No. In all of comic books, when does Superman ever come out and go, this is who I am, this is what I do?
Yeah.
Never.
No, because in the comic book, it's pre-accounted that it's truth, justice, in the American way. They're building this up in a film. You cannot... While I give you can apply certain facets from the comic books. If you're making a good film, setting up these things, you need to give it a beat. The problem is, when they got to that point, instead of having... And what I would have done is, I would have had Superman arrive at the Senate, he gives his speech, then it blows up. He's given his declaration of the world. Then it brings in more into question of, well, if he's there and he says he's to protect people, why didn't he stop the guy blowing it up? Because they bring that up after. If he knew, was he complicit?
No, he says, I missed it.
Yes,
I wasn't paying attention.
Yes, but in the film, it gets brought up on a news report that if Superman knew and he did nothing, was he complicit? And if he didn't know, how can we...
Alan, he's confessing this stuff to people privately.
Yes, and but
listen to me. He's confessing this stuff privately. You're wanting him to do it in a public manner.
No.
Again...
Bobby,
Superman never, in comics, comes in a public manner.
But we're not talking about comics.
But no, you don't understand. What I'm saying is what my point is all these movies, this movie here, is based off the comics. He's going directly to the source material, pulling from the source material. Okay. Lex Luthor runs for President of the United States and wins in the comic books.
Yeah.
And afterwards, in Public Enemies... It's a Batman-Superman book. He goes to Bruce Wayne at Batman and says, I could have stepped in. I could have talked out about him. But I feel like I let the people do what they want to do, and I just do my thing and save people. You're wanting him to do something that they don't do in the comic books.
But Bobby, right, what works in comics has notoriously not always worked in film. If they're wanting to make a film that's going to ask these questions about this character... then they have to really kind of push an answer. Now, I'm hoping that in the 3.5 hour or the 3 hour cut that will come to DVD, some of these points about certain characters get answered. I just felt that one scene avoided giving Superman a bit more depth, and ultimately it just led to him feeling flat. I actually feel that this is a Zack Snyder's bash at a Batman movie, but he kind of had to tie it back into Man of Steel.
And I disagree.
Well, You can disagree, but as I say, my point is, as a film, if it's going to start poking and asking these questions and setting these bits up, it kind of feels that they've not delivered on what they were kind of trying to get at. When, like I say, that one scene could have given Cavill some meat, something to work with. Instead, they kind of just cut out the bit I think it needed. And again, this is my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That by removing an opportunity for Cavill, and I know what you're saying, in the comics he doesn't stand up for who he is, but they're setting it up that we don't know what he is. We don't know, can we trust him? If they're going to keep asking these questions, they've got to give an opportunity for them to be explored.
You're looking for something that's not. You're looking for something that's not there.
Right.
They're not. Listen, you want to. The problem is you want a different movie. And that's not what this is.
No, I'm treating this in this context of the film. They're asking these questions in this film.
You're missing the point. They're directing. They are answering the questions. He's not doing it in a public manner. It's the same thing they do in the comic books. If you read Superman, if you read Batman, you wouldn't have an issue with this stuff because this is stuff that they do not do. When has Captain America addressed the public about what he wants to do? When has Iron Man addressed the public? When did they ever address the public with all the destruction that they did in New York City?
Yeah, right, Bobby, but that's not something that gets directly explored. The reason I'm bringing it up is because this film, being a direct sequel, an indirect, what are we calling it? An indirect sequel to Man of Steel?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. They are exploring it. This film leans on it. Its opening sequence leans on the destruction of Metropolis, and I loved that opening, by the way.
Yeah,
it was brilliant watching that from street level. If you're gonna, what I'm saying is, as a film, they created a boring Superman in his own semi-sequel, and all I'm saying is that from Man of Steel to this film, those characters don't really get fleshed out more. They don't grow more. They're kind of the same characters from that film throughout this film. You've got like Batman, Wonder Woman, they all come in. You know, they are the fresh blood. They are the more interesting characters. When you watch that film, I'm sure you've seen it twice now, 3 times?
Yeah, that's all twice.
Yeah. I bet you, when I go and see it, I'm going to stand by it, but for me, I loved all the bits that really kind of skirted Superman. Personally, I just thought they did nothing with that character in this film, and it just felt, and that has a knock-on effect to a lot of other bits of the film.
What's your feeling, Joey?
All right, so I disagree that he was a boring character because I thought he was more interesting in this one than he was in Man of Steel, to be frank, even if Man of Steel was basically all his story. And I watched it with my friend and the co-host of Game and Talk, Alan Plummer, and he was the guy who just freaking hated Man of Steel. And so he came out of this movie loving it probably more than I did. And he said he hates Man of Steel. You can listen to our spoiler cast when you're done listening to this spoiler cast. that they do a great job of making him more like we like sympathize with him more in this movie because he is trying to be that savior to mankind. But I don't think the problem is that it doesn't announce it to the public at all. But to play devil's advocate, Bobby, when you say that this didn't happen in the comic books, wasn't there some stuff in Man of Steel that did not happen in the comic books either? Like, everyone complained about killing Zod. Now I'm asking you this as somebody who doesn't have like a not extensive knowledge of comics. Does he ever kill? Yes. Okay, so people.
It actually in 84, 85. DC rebooted Superman and Wonder Woman and a bunch of other books. They left Batman alone. Batman kind of went. They used Frank Miller's Year One as like the launching point for Batman, but they didn't go back to number 1 with it. John Byrne wrote a book, a series of books. It was a 6-part miniseries. The relaunch. It was basically the relaunch of Superman called The Man of Steel. He kills Zod in that book.
Okay. All right. So people bitched about nothing, of course.
And also in what did people think happened in the 1978 Superman movie? Like, he kills Zod. Like, they don't do it as violently as he did it in Man of Steel, but he kills Zod in that as well.
Dude, I was straight up arguing with a dude the other day, and he was like, Superman never kills Zod. And I'm like, I don't think that's true.
And it's the similar feeling of you have a young Superman that doesn't know, and he does it because he realizes there's no other way. If I don't do this guy's going to kill humanity. I have to do it. But he has that pain. That's why he screams out at the end, because he has that painstakingly thing of like, I can't believe I just did this. I didn't want to do this, and I was forced into this hole. So
I agree with you. Superman would kill to save billions of people. There's no two ways about it. If it's one man for billions, he would do it. I had no problem with that. But that's a moment he had in that film he never got in this film. That kind of confliction, that kind of something that made him interesting, he didn't have in this film.
I felt like all the Lois and Clark stuff was showing him a more emotional type of character. It was showing him being more grounded. I feel like you could see the torment in him. That's where I disagree. I feel like all movie long, I felt like there's a consistent tone with him where he's tormented with the fact of like, I'm trying to help these people and they just don't care. Why don't they care? Because he doesn't see that Lex Luthor is the master puppet manipulator, pulling the strings behind the scene. And ultimately, that's what we find out is happening, that he's trying to manipulate Batman and Superman to have this fight at the end. I just feel like I feel like I've said this numerous times, and I actually posted this yesterday. If you watch that original Comic-Con reveal, there's two things that take place in that Comic-Con reveal. You hear Harry Lennox reading from a piece from a book. They don't say what it's from, but they just start reading. He got 3 words in, and I had chills when I first watched it because I knew exactly where it came from and what it was. And you hear a couple of wooing in there. Then you hear the crowd explode when they show the Batman-Superman logo.
Yeah.
There's 2 people.
I got the same feeling.
There's 2 people. If you got excited seeing the logo come up, this movie is not for you. Because you're thinking Super Friends. You're thinking Batman, Superman on screen, and they might battle a little bit like Iron Man. When I heard what was being said, I thought Dark Knight Returns, that's exactly what he's going for, and that's what he gave us. If you watch the movie, I felt like this was Dark Knight Returns, the death of Superman, mixed into one, and that's the way they went with it. And if you go by that, this is the Batman we got, this is the Superman we got, this is the battle we got, and everything that in between. So that's where I think that video, if you watch that clip, it's a huge distinction. The younger generation of comic readers and people that don't read DC comics and all that stuff, they look at that logo and they go, oh my God, we're getting Batman and Superman together on the screen. Yeah, I listened to what he was reading and I went, oh my God, I'm getting the Dark Knight Returns, or something similar to the Dark Knight Returns. Obviously, they can't do it beat for beat and everything the same, but I'm getting similar to it, and I'm good for that. And that's the problem. That's the difference between the crowds.
First of all, I could listen to that guy read the phone book.
Yeah.
When I look at it, he's got one of those voices. It's just like, oh, but
yeah.
That's just my point.
But he's reading that. What he's reading is the part at the end. Batman's kicking the crap out of Superman, and he tells him, "I whipped your ass, and I'm the only person that has ever beat you, and you know this now." And that's it. And so, but there's people that weren't getting it when they showed it, and that clip that I posted on my Facebook page spells it out, night and day. And for people that are sitting there going, well, like I was arguing on Joey's Facebook today with, and this guy's going, oh, Batman's killing and he's too violent and stuff, and I'm like, are you insane, dude?
I think I know who you're talking about. He's really annoying. If you're listening, sorry, you really got that.
Spoilers if he's listening to this episode.
But I'm like, how are you not getting this? Like, Batman is violent in The Dark Knight Returns. He's 20 years deep into this. He's seen the most wicked shit in the world. He's watched Robin get killed, murdered. That's obvious by the Robin suit that's in the Batcave or whatever the section that he got.
God, Bob, you went out of your way to post pictures of the comic. That's incredible.
Yeah, because I'm like, you're an idiot,
Bobby
dude.
was on a warpath there.
Yeah, I'm like, the guy is an idiot. Like, straight up. Like, Batman's using a gun. He's shooting at cops in the Dark Knight Returns. He breaks the Joker's neck and tries to kill him completely and then just stops shy of it. He's beating the crap out of Superman, like, trying to kill him, like that type of beating.
Yeah.
Like, using kryptonite and all that stuff, like, that's the Batman we got. And no lie, I came out of that theater, and me and my wife were driving home, and I looked at her and I go, you're going to hear people complain that Batman don't use a gun and that Batman don't kill.
That's the thing that got for me, is that this version of Batman is going to be really jarring for people that have only gone through the film versions of Batman. As soon as I saw that shot of him on the crane with the sniper rifle, even for me, and I haven't read it, but I know the comic history. Yeah. He's had guns. He's done some. Even seeing it, you're kind of going, "Oh, people are going to have an issue with that."
Yeah, but that gun wasn't to kill. That gun was just to put the thing on there, and that's fine.
It's that imagery of him with the gun, and for some audience members, that initial is like, "Oh, what's he doing? Why's he got a gun?" I love this Batman. This Batman is great. It was the only thing I've always said consistently is Ben Affleck will be a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne, and I was right.
Yeah, again. Oh, please. For me, I felt like a lot of this was maybe a bit reactionary on Zack Snyder's part. I feel like that's where he messed up a little bit. Like, he consistently, and I know where he is. He's in the mindset of, like, these people keep coming at me asking me, like, why did you destroy Metropolis? Why was there so much action in the early parts? And then he adjusts and pivots to that, and then he's getting beat up now for the same things that he fixed. He fixed in this movie, and now he's getting beat up for that stuff in this movie.
You know my opinion on Zack Snyder. I think both of you know my opinion on Zack Snyder.
Yes. Wow. Unfortunately.
I disagree with your opinion, but that's fine.
I love the art of this film. I love the style. That Bruce Wayne sequence prior to the opening at Metropolis is like, the guy can put comic book on screen.
Oh, absolutely.
He can't handle characters very well. He likes to paint in broad strokes, which isn't a bad thing. But when you've got a film like this, it needs a more delicate touch.
But see, with that, I feel like all the blame is falling on his shoulders, and it's not all his blame.
No, it should.
Seriously not. Oh my God, people, stop blaming Zack Snyder for everything. Yeah. I mean, we've seen what Zack Snyder can do with a great screenplay. 300, Watchmen, anybody? David S. Goyer is one of the biggest problems here.
I have my issues with Watchmen. 300 I actually really do enjoy. This film, when you watch it, the edit feels like this was... And it's proven by the fact that his version is going to be an R-rated and it's going to be 3 hours long. Yeah. This edit of the film is definitely a CEO or kind of focus tested edit that they knew was going to tick all the boxes for the fans. It's going to draw the crowds in. I actually think the 3-hour version, apart from the fact I won't be able to feel it, it's going to be the better film.
Well, you also got to think too, like, the 3-hour film is an R-rated film, so they had to cut. There's no way that Warner Brothers is putting an R-rated Batman and Superman movie out, so they had to cut that. You know what I mean?
Even with Deadpool's success, but yeah.
I feel like the other thing is like, I feel like David Goyer, and he didn't write all of The Dark Knight, but he wrote a lot of The Dark Knight along with Christopher Nolan's brother, and that movie is to me, Dark Knight is the greatest superhero movie of all time. I don't care what anybody says, because you could pull Batman, you could pull Superman out of that movie, Batman and the Joker out of that movie, and it's a great detective movie. It's a great movie altogether. Oh yeah. So I feel like that's the perfect film, because it's not just a superhero film to me. It's a perfect cop movie, So I feel like because of that, Warner Brothers and DC gave him just like the license to write whatever after that. But I feel like he's done now. This was his swan song. He's done. He's out, because they actually brought in someone to help rewrite some of the stuff, which they've never done in the past for him. And I just feel like he's done. And he needs to be done. They need to put him aside.
They're filming Justice League next month. I don't know. That's not a lot of time to get a new director.
No, not a new director. Writer.
Oh, writer. Yeah, please be done. Swear to God.
I don't believe Goyer wrote Justice League. I don't believe that at all.
I don't know who wrote Justice League. I have to look into that.
Which I don't understand is like why Warner Brothers is not like I know Jeff Johns oversees everything, but why they're not dipping into the well of comic book writers more with these. Like you have the guys that know the characters backwards, forwards, all that stuff. Not again, and I'm not taking it from this film at all, but I just feel like you have this wealth of writing talent. Like dip into that and pull some of them guys. Like it drives me crazy when
they're getting the writer of one of the Ice Ages to write Wonder Woman. What?
Yeah, but what I've seen so far, I don't have an issue with.
I know, right? But it's like, why would you? Of all the people, why would you like?
Yeah, but that's not. You can't necessarily.
Writers attached to GLA.
There's how many?
5.
Yeah, well, that's good.
That's it. Only 5, really? 10 tops. Come on, man. That's the rules.
One of them co-wrote Dark Knight. So.
Okay. Who's
was it? Jonathan Nolan?
No, is it Klaus?
No, Bob Kane. Bob Kane.
I'm thinking Dark Knight Returns. You're saying Dark Knight the movie.
Bob Kane is the creator of Batman.
Yeah.
Good job.
Why is he? Okay. There's.
He's just listed as. Well, you gotta understand, like 5 of those, the 5 writers you're looking at are like one of them is probably the one writing the movie, and 4 of them created the characters.
Okay. Oh, sorry, you're correct. My phone's loading slowly, but Chris Terrario.
Oh, okay. He's the guy who cleaned up Batman vs Superman.
Okay. Yeah. So they brought him. Yeah. So they replaced Goyer all completely, which is good. I'm happy with that.
Thank God. Thank Jeff Jones.
Something we all agree on.
Okay, so let's go this route. What did you guys think of Wonder Woman in this film?
She was okay. I mean, she didn't steal the show, but she was pulled off way better than I expected her to be pulled off. One of my friends posted, man, something was wrong with that movie when the only time the audience cheered was when Wonder Woman showed up at the final battle. And I'm like, you went to a very bad movie theater then, because I had multiple reactions from multiple things in that movie. But even then, I thought she had a great introduction, and it sets up greatly for the Wonder Woman movie in early 2017 with Chris Pine. So we'll see how that can of worms is when it's opened.
Yeah. What about you, Alan? How'd you feel?
I'm with Joy. I kind of lean. I'm more positive about it. I thought, everything with Wonder Woman was just.
I thought it was amazing. When
I would only say that her score is crap, though.
No, I love that. I
like that score. Come on,
that score was awesome. That was dude, when that hits, you're just like, dude. I don't care what nobody says. I had chills, man, when Batman's about to get taken out by Doomsday, and all of a sudden it gets blocked. My first reaction was, that's Superman. Because you see Superman kind of the sun repair him and all that. Mm-hmm. He comes back down, and again, that's a scene taken out of The Dark Knight Returns. Look
at that.
So you know. And then he comes down, and as Doomsday shoots the blink, my first reaction was, that's Superman. He came in the last second. When she drops her wrist guards and that music kicks and it's her, I was like, holy crap, here we go. Dude, she, to me, stole the third act because she completely is whipping the crap out of Doomsday and, and just loving it. Like, that scene where he hits her and she slides backwards and she loses her sword and she's got that grin on her face like, yeah, let's go. Dude, I was just like... Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh man, I deal with your kind on a daily basis. Come on, man, let's go, let's bring it.
She was the only one actually having fun fighting Doomsday. That scene, she's just like smirking. She's like, I have been waiting for a challenge like this.
Well,
Superman and Batman are like, oh god, what are we doing? And she's just like, let's do this.
That's the thing. With Wonder Woman, she's a warrior, so she loves to fight. She loves that stuff. So that totally came off. That totally came off in that part where she was just like, bring it. Come on. And I love the part where she's just like, where Superman's like, oh, he's from my world. And she's like, it's okay. I've killed people. Or I've killed aliens from other worlds before. And I was like, oh, this is
She's
awesome.
Like, that's supposed to surprise me? Honey, let me tell you something about my line of work.
The one thing that I laughed, though, that I thought was really, it didn't hit me till the second viewing of it, was she's totally beating the crap out of Doomsday. and he's throwing Superman around like a rag doll, and I'm like, holy crap, man! She's just like housing him. I loved it. I really did. I liked it.
What did you think of Doomsday in this movie? Because I thought they definitely should have not spoiled him in the trailer, but even then, I felt like his presence was kind of underwhelming.
My feeling in all of this is they dropped the ball with the trailers, and I feel like that's a studio decision. That's not a Zack Snyder decision. I don't think that Zack Snyder wanted to let out that he had Doomsday in the film or Wonder Woman shown.
Yeah,
in those
directors
clips.
don't usually have a say in marketing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that was totally, the and I feel like it was a knee-jerk reaction to the underwhelmingness of the first trailer that they did, and everybody flipping out about Civil War trailer. And I felt like DC was like, okay, let's go back and recut this and redo this and all that stuff. I feel like I liked Doomsday. I felt like I liked him in the movie. I thought like, okay, this is good. This is a good thing to do. I feel like the first time they show him, like the first time you see him, when he first comes out of that cocoon, he's kind of like a goofy-looking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
But the minute he pulls his skin off and the shards start coming out of him, I was like, oh. I feel like they could have added some more shards to him and stuff like that. Like, that would have been cooler. But I didn't have a problem with him. And I liked the fight scene. I thought the fight scene was really, really well done with all that.
Now, will we see Doomsday return? Because I'm unaware of how Doomsday works.
Doomsday Well, he can potentially come back in another film, but the original Doomsday that killed Superman never comes back. And the ones that come back later are just not as strong as the original Doomsday.
Okay, because it's like one of the arguments was, and Alan sent me a Facebook message of Sean Bean going, they have a Doomsday. And I'm like, haha, so funny and original. Okay, but other than that,
I was tipsy.
Yeah.
You were tipsy. I was just tipsy, laddie. All right.
That was actually very good.
Well, thank you. So Doomsday, yeah. But my problem with it was people were saying, oh man, if you guys think Doomsday is ugly, don't worry, he evolves, and he never evolves past that point, is what
Well, he evolved the first time.
Yeah.
He evolves from the first time.
I did expect another...
I felt like they could have evolved one more time, and that would have been perfectly. Like, if you look at Doomsday, he has more shards of bone matter coming out of his body. Felt like he was a little bigger than he is in the comic books. But all in all, I liked him. I thought he was, and I thought the whole death scene was handled well. I liked it. I thought that, like, the whole, the only thing I didn't like, felt like they could have left it go, was when they show the dirt pop on the casket. They probably could have just,
they could have cut out a good, like, 2-3 minutes of that entire funeral, everything. It just went on for... I was thinking the whole time, it's like, oh man, they're really not going to kill Superman, are they? That they should have just left us that in question until, like, because it's like, yeah, I know there's a Justice League movie coming out, but it's like, they can't do Justice League without Superman. Oh god, what are they going to do? And then it's like, it's Return of the King levels of just dragging on and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, I was waiting for the credits to roll right when Batman interrogated Lex Luthor, but no, it just had to be like, oh, here's 4 frames of dirt rising, because just implying that he's gonna burst out of that coffin and be like, I'm back, bitches. That was a waste of time.
That's where, again, I feel like there was a little bit of a pacing issue at the end, where they were trying to show too much and give that dramatic feel to it, and I felt like that's where. So for me, there's 3 spots where I really felt like they should have cut that stuff. You know what I mean? I feel like, to answer some of the stuff that people have said, like Tim Geddes from IG, or from Kind of Funny, originally from IGN, but he's with Kind of Funny now. He said some stuff that to me just was stupid and made no sense.
He's a child. Give him some credit.
Yeah, he comes off as a child. So
well, yeah, he's literally a child. So
I missed what he said. So.
Well, the one thing he said was he didn't like the fact that, like, he felt like every character had a theme song, and every time they were on screen.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That was dumb. Yes, the first time they introduce the characters, they show it, but spoilers. every time Darth Vader comes on the screen in the Star Wars movie, the Imperial March plays, and it's drummed in our head over and over again. Nobody has an issue with that. Why do we have an issue with this stuff? And it's like,
honestly,
you may not like the music that they chose for the characters. Like, Alan doesn't like the Wonder Woman stuff. I thought the Wonder Woman theme was awesome.
Great.
So that part I get, like, if you didn't like it, but to say that, like, it's dumb that they put it in. Watch any of the Nolan films. Every time Batman comes on screen, you get that Batman music playing.
I did, however, think that the Superman Man of Steel theme that was in the first movie was actually kind of overused, but it was way overused in Man of Steel too. Yeah. It was just it felt like every scene was like down, 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 down.
They were playing off of they were trying to get you that feeling of the original Superman.
Yeah, especially with the scene with his dad, with Pa Kent. Yeah. I was like, okay, that was good.
The other thing he said that he felt was dumb was that they should have showed where Superman realized that Batman was Bruce Wayne. He felt like it was melodramatic when he just said Bruce.
I did think it was a bit like sudden. And it's like, oh man, where'd you come to this realization? But then it's like, it makes sense because he has X-ray vision.
Yeah, well, not even that. I don't even think he knew then. I think he knew when he heard Alfred and Bruce Wayne talking back and forth.
Yes.
I think at that point he connected the dots and went, "Oh, that's Batman." Like,
of course.
To me,
I have the big one thing that I don't have an issue with, but I'm kind of confused at is, like, they only refer to him as the Batman once in this entire movie. And it's like, wasn't he a vigilante for like 20 years in Gotham? And the newscasters are all like, oh, there's this bat symbol, don't know what that is. And I'm like, you serious right now, dude? Anderson Cooper, get your shit together. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow.
The thing that I didn't get is they never explained how Lex figured out who Batman was. Because they allude to him being the one sending him all the notes about you let your family die and all this. And it's like, right, cool. How in Christ's name does he know Bruce Wayne's Batman? Like, give us
because he's a genius.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily have to. I don't feel like they needed to explain how he figures it out. But I think it was just, if you watch what. I mean, again, he's been doing it for 20 years. Odds are he's probably not on the ball with hiding it the way he was originally. Because it hits a point, because there's a point where Alfred says to him, you did all this stuff as Bruce Wayne, not Batman. To me, that's the age-old thing of where Bruce Wayne, again, feels like, I'm not good enough. I have to be the Bat in order to get stuff figured out and done. But he's so into the Batman that he's not seeing that Bruce Wayne is actually being let go. There's a comic book where Bruce Wayne is accused of murder, and he basically Batman's like, whatever, let him. They're not going to lock me up, whatever. Bruce Wayne can go to jail, or Bruce Wayne could be... People can think that he's on the run. I don't care. It's time for me to be Batman 24/7. There's always a part of Bruce Wayne that wants to be Batman all the time. And he even makes reference in that comic where he says Bruce Wayne is the secret identity for Batman. Batman is... Like, Bruce Wayne is the mask, not Batman. Like, Bruce Wayne is Batman's mask, not... Batman being Bruce Wayne's mask. So he makes this transition at some point where he's just like, I need to be Batman all the time, and that's the way I want to be. And I feel like in that thinking, he just don't give a damn anymore. He's like, if people figure me out, I don't care. They're not going to do anything. I'm just going to whip their ass, and it is what it is.
They're clearly not doing anything, so.
No, yeah.
We also need to give a shout out to Jeremy Irons' incarnation of Alfred. I love him.
Alfred didn't have enough screen time in that movie.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy you go for a drink with.
Yeah. My thing again was, I feel like the trailer spoiled a lot. Like, that whole Batman scene where he goes in to save Martha Kent, that should have never been in the trailers at all. Because that scene, people would have freaked out watching that scene live in the theater. Like, I watched it again, and I was just like, goosebumps. Like, this is awesome. But it would have. It sucks because all of us are kind of in the position where people come to us and they want us to give our opinions on things, what we thought of things. We think it's going to be good. Do we think it's going to be bad and all that stuff. But I hate being spoiled. Mm-hmm. There's still a part of me that doesn't want to see this stuff. And like when Dark Knight Rises, when the Dark Knight hit and Dark Knight Rises hit, I went on a media blackout. I didn't watch any trailers, any of that stuff, and I just went into the theater fresh without seeing any of that stuff. I feel like and it's all movies. It's not just this movie. You know what I mean? Like, did he really need to show the Spider-Man outfit? No. They did it for whatever reason. They could have. Everybody knows Spider-Man's going to be in that movie. Did they really need to show it? Nope, they didn't have to.
Not the casuals. The casuals don't know, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but you don't need to show. Like, people are going to. Okay, so the casuals, are they not going to go see Civil War because Spider-Man's not in it? No.
I mean, way more people are going to see it now because Spider-Man's in it.
I think. Listen, I think Civil War is going to make money out the nose, and everybody's going to show up in droves to see it. In that situation, you hear later on, like I said this in the podcast yesterday, when years ago there was a movie called The Fugitive that came out, and there's a scene in there, there's a train wreck scene, and they never spoiled it. You never knew about it leading into this in the trailers and stuff. Harrison Ford's in it. So when that scene happens, weeks after, that's all you hear is, you got to go see The Fugitive for this train wreck. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. I feel like now they don't save that stuff. They don't save it for the word of mouth for people to go, oh my God, Spider-Man's in this. You got to go see Spider-Man. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, I talked about it in the podcast yesterday again, where like in Dark Knight Rises, when Bane collapses the football stadium, that is the most amazing scene ever. Like, you watch that thing collapsing as Hines Ward is running down the field, and it's just collapsing behind him, and it's like, what in the hell is happening here? Why was that on commercials? Yeah. There was no need for that to be on commercials, because that would have been the thing that everybody talked about later, was like, oh my God, you got to see this football stadium scene. Like, the whole thing collapsed. I can't believe it. And it's like, I don't get why marketing does what it does.
What's sad is, and I don't agree with it, but apparently it's the end-all be-all, is statistically, the more you show in a trailer, the more money it's going to make, which is super sad, right?
Yeah.
Because I learned about this in my filmmaking class. We compared the trailer for John Carter and Avatar. John Carter, it was ambiguous. They barely told us anything, and that movie bombed.
Yeah.
And they show us Avatar, 3.5 minute long trailer. It shows the movie from beginning to end, one of the biggest box office opening movies of all time.
True. That's true.
It's so sad.
You know what? That makes sense.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars gave the right amount of tease.
Yeah, but the defense is that it's Star Wars. People are gonna see it
That's
anyway.
gonna make money regardless.
Yeah.
See, that's my other thing. Like, I feel like, you know, if people give a movie like Star Wars a pass, and they're not giving this movie a pass. And I feel like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Star Wars. I liked it. I thought it was a great movie. How can you give that movie a pass if you're not giving this movie a pass? Because Star Wars is a reboot of 1977 to the T. They're beat for beat, they're stealing stuff from the original Star Wars.
Yeah, and it was intentional that way.
I get that.
It was kind of sort of a reboot, too. But yeah.
No, I get that. I totally get that. But, like, if you're doing that and people are saying, like, oh, that's okay, how in the world is this not okay? Like,
because you have to look at it from a reviewer point of view. Structurally, Star Wars as a film, and basing it just on structure, from pacing and all that, is a better film than Batman v Superman.
So basically,
Batman v Superman structurally is not a good film.
So basically, if they would have gone and done Dark Knight 2 with Superman in it, everybody would have loved it. But because they went a different direction, nobody likes it.
It's because I think
not nobody, but you know what I'm saying.
They didn't know how to make the film.
I think it was too much. Ultimately, I think it was they tried to cram a lot into it, and I'm just being facetious with that talk with Star Wars stuff. I'm just, but I feel like ultimately this movie is a good movie, a solid movie in my books. I don't think it's the greatest. As far as Batman movies, it's probably going to move to my number 2 movie. I feel like it's Dark Knight, and then this one, and then probably Batman Begins after that, and then trickles down. But I feel like as far as an on-screen Batman, I feel like this is the best Batman we've ever gotten, the best Bruce Wayne we've ever gotten. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited for a standalone film. I'm excited for Suicide Squad because I know he's in that one. So I'm really amped up and ready to go. And I know already before Suicide Squad even hits, there's going to be all kinds of complaints about the Joker and the way the Joker's portrayed and all that.
So, like, that'll be good, tattoos. Shut up. The only tattoo I have a problem with is damaged on his forehead, but I'm like, in the end, what matters? Nothing matters. We're all going to die.
I mean, yeah, I'm with Joey and you. The Suicide Squad's going to be great. And the Joker is going to be great. It's Jared Leto. The guy could he could just be sitting like reading the crappiest script, and you're going to love whatever character he plays.
Yeah,
jeez.
That film's going to be tonally way different to Man of Steel. Batman v Superman.
But you don't know that yet. You don't know that until it actually plays.
I think.
Yeah, we'll find out.
I mean, in theory, it feels that way, but. They're taking themselves serious. There's not a movie in the DC lineup that's not taking themselves seriously.
I think what Alan means is only. Yeah.
No, I know what he means, but I'm just saying, like, it seems like a more fun film. It seems, this is in his mind, in most of the people's minds, this is a Marvel movie, and what I mean by that is Marvel movies are kind of like beat 'em up, have fun, popcorn movies, things like that. Where this movie, Man of Steel, the Dark Knight movies are more cerebral, and they try to do a lot of stuff in terms of grounding them. And this one, because there's not people flying around and all that, so you're going to kind of get that more grounded feeling to it, or less grounded feeling to it. They're going to do a lot of more cartoony stuff.
To give credit to the Marvel fans, because I would say my favorite comic book movie is, like you, The Dark Knight. Spider-Man 2 is a close second.
That's a good movie.
I love so good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say Dark Knight Rises tried to be cerebral. I think Dark Knight did it better than Dark Knight Rises. I don't think this film's...
Dark Knight did a lot better than Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I don't think this film can be held remotely in the light of those films in terms of depth and complexity. And like you say, Bobby, the great thing about Dark Knight is you could take out the comic book characters and you've got a great film regardless.
Yeah.
I think if you've got this film, this stands and dies on its own, and because it's trying to reboot everything, I think what it proves is Batman's got a big future, Wonder Woman's got a big future, the overall universe has great potential, Superman still hasn't found his place yet in the new. I think it's the same problem Superman Returns had. It's trying to get this guy to fit into a modern world, and its way of thinking and its ideology. He doesn't really have a place, at least the character as it used to be, and they're still struggling to find his voice now. Works in the comics, but on film, it's still a fight for them to figure out who Clark Kent is, who Superman is, and how he fits into everything.
To some degree, I agree. To some degree, I don't agree. But that's that's different. That's because we're coming from different point of views of it all. I feel like I like the Superman. I don't know. I just feel like he does fit. I feel like it's a guy that has these powers and is struggling to find his way and trying to find his place. And to me, that's the story they're telling, and that's the story that's coming across. I think the mixture is that people want that bright, blue-eyed Christopher Reeve Superman on the screen, that type of, because that Superman fit the times and people bought it and bought into it. This one is a more grittier, some would say emo, but at the same time, like, I get why he's like that. Like, if that's like anything. Like, if you're doing a job and you think you're helping people, and then they're just basically crapping all over you and can care less what you're doing, you're going to kind of be like, why am I doing this? And that's the tone, and that's what I'm reading out of all this, and that's what I get from all this. And it's more, to me, in this movie, why I liked it more was I felt like they explored more of his backstory with Lois and stuff like that, and they show that where he's got that turmoil within, where he's just like, I don't get this. What more do I need to do for these people? And they don't care. Like there's the biggest example of that is they got the huge statue, and the guy climbs up on there and spray paints false god on its chest, and it's like when you see Clark Kent see that, he's just like, what the hell, dude? Like what more do I have to do? And he's trying to, and I think he's also playing that balance where he's trying to ignore it, because at that one point Lois is like talking to him and he's like, I don't care. I'm trying to save the woman I love. Like I could care less what people think. And she's like, no, you need to think about these things.
Yeah.
Because she could see it. That's the thing. Superman's not the brightest bulb. I'm sorry. That's Batman tells him all the time. And that's why I love Batman. Like Batman says to him, like, you're a dummy. You have all these powers. You think you're invincible, and you'll run into a burning building and won't think about it because you think you're safe. Well, you could run into that burning building, and there could be kryptonite in there. You're dead. He goes, me, I need to analyze everything before I even go into a building. So that way when I go into that building, nothing can hurt me. And that's why I always feel like Batman's the better character, because he's more intellectual. They try to bring Superman a little bit more intellect recently, but ultimately he's just a big musclehead dummy.
Which is totally understandable. You go to a planet and you realize, oh man, I got all these superpowers. Nothing can hurt me.
Exactly.
It's totally what would happen to us. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think we should talk about the one thing in this movie that's left a lot of impressions on people is the dream sequence / the Flash coming in and saying Lois is the key. And Lois is just like, that's just. I was just talking about this on my spoiler cast. We're just thinking, that is super nerdy and awesome that they're building up to all this stuff in future movies.
Yeah, when I saw that scene, first off, the Omega emblem or symbol in the dirt, in the desert, I was just like, oh. And I saw it prior. I know I saw it, they showed it in previous stuff, but I was just like, yes. And I didn't know that was the dream sequence. I didn't realize it until the day before I went to go see it, and Mark told me from the Warp Whistle podcast, and I was like, really? That's the dream sequence? Like, I didn't know that was all a dream sequence. So I didn't have a problem with Flash coming to him the way he did and all that, and it was just like, this is awesome. Like, I just love that they're using all this stuff, and they're just like, because it reminds me of, what this reminds me of is, when Arrow started, Arrow was a very grounded, nobody flew, nobody had superpowers, none of that. And then when the Flash was implemented, then you started to see that change. That's the way I feel with this. Like, originally, in all the Batman movies and stuff, and you really didn't have that, like, magical power, superpowers, and all that stuff. When I saw this with Apocalypse and with the Omega symbol and all that stuff, I just went, with the parademons flying around and all that stuff, I was like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. I want to see Darkseid, and he's coming. I mean, it's said, like that's what Lex is saying at the end. So I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, the dream sequence was really cool. I loved the Flash cameo. That was the best cameo. They didn't need the extra video because that was.
They could have went without it. Yeah. Although I like that video footage. That was badass. Like, here he is, because you get to see him, and it, like, boom, boom, and he like takes that dude out. I was like, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
It does throw up so many theories, because the bit that got me was not the Lois is the key. It's the you are right about him all along. Then it's that. Then he obviously gets sucked back through the universe hole or whatever. And
you see, when I saw that, I was like, because I don't read a whole lot of comic books, like I said, and I turned to Alan, and I'm like, what the hell was that? He was like, I don't know what. And I was like, because I couldn't recognize that was Ezra Miller, and I was like, is that the Flash? I thought at first that was Red Hood for a second. I'm like, what's he doing here?
What I took from that was this. I felt like you've been right about him all the time. He's not talking about Superman. They want you to believe he's talking about Superman, but I don't believe that they want you. I think he's referencing Lex. I think that's what he's saying. Like, you were right about him all the time. Meaning, obviously, this is a Flash from the future sent back to speak to a younger Bruce that knows but doesn't know what's going on, and it's basically Batman telling him, like, go back and tell myself this to get my not get my memory, but to get me in a better place for the future. You know, it reminds me of like the Injustice stuff. If you guys remember those trailers not Injustice, DC Universe Online, when that stuff originally was coming out, and you saw the destruction and all that, and like, here's Batman sending Lex back to the past to talk to Bruce and to talk to the Trinity and all that stuff, and he's like, in the future this is going to happen. Like, that's just cool stuff to me. Like, I like when that stuff happens. So
it did give me theories because it set my brain off. And part of me, I was going to ask you before the show started, but have you read the Red Sun comic book?
Some of it, not all of it. The Red Sun is where, just for people that don't know, like, Red Sun is basically it's a flip-flop world. It's where what would have happened if Clark Kent, Superman, would have landed in Russia as opposed to the United States.
Because he becomes all kind of omnipotent overlord. Now,
yeah.
Go with me on this, because I was a bit hammered when I thought of this. What if, when Superman comes back, he's been manipulated by Darkseid, and he's an incarnation of the Red Sun Superman, who is who the Justice League have to fight in the first movie. They kick his ass and they snap him out of it. That's when the second movie kicks off with Darkseid coming to the planet, and it's then the full JLA having to go against them. Like I said, it was hammered.
Not against that.
I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening because when he comes back, he's basically, it's still Superman, but he is different. He is where he's just like, he wants to give up the Clark Kent stuff. And he lets Clark stay dead for a very long time.
That's the comics.
What's that?
That's the comics. But what if they're trying to set up a big fight for the film?
Yeah, but they're still staying very close to they're keeping the comics close to the chest. And I don't know that they'll do that. I don't think that he wants to make I just don't think he's going to do that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't think. No. My feeling is I don't think that that's the way they're going to go. I mean, that's like Injustice too, you know, where that could be the way they're leading, because in Injustice, Superman snaps when Lois dies and turns evil, you know, and it could be a similar thing because that's the vibe I did get when I saw that Superman and all that stuff. I was just like, oh. Wow. Yeah. And that could have been what they were leading to. It could have been like, you know, part of me thinks you might not be completely wrong though. But not the Red Sun version. I don't think that. I'm leaning more towards the Injustice thing. Like, maybe Lois dies. And
man, I need to read Injustice. I've heard nothing but good things. And I know they made a video game about it, but still.
Well, the video game came first and then they made the comics afterwards.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The video game was first, and then people were like, well, why would Batman and Superman fight? And why would Aquaman fight? And all this stuff. And they were like, okay, we need to do a backstory here, obviously, because people are stupid like Alan over there that just can't buy into what we're doing.
Well, I'm not going to lie. After that, you've been, because of what's happened with Batman, and you seem to think I'm some sort of Marvel whore.
You are. You are.
I am. I'm not going to say I love Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to, because, and also, if you've listened to the Kind of Funny podcast, they had Max Landis on. He's writing the American Alien series of Superman. Okay. That version of Superman I want to read. But I'm also wanting to try Red Sun. I'm also going to dabble in the graphic novels. I'm going away for a few days, and I want stuff to read.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get you two at the end of the show to recommend an iPad reader for comics, because for DC.
It's Comixology. Just go to Comixology.
So that's my goal. Catch up and beat.
I'll tell you right now, and this is the truth. If you want to know where to go, I tell you right now, you go to Dark Knight Returns, read that. You go to Death of Superman, you read that. You go to, I would go Hush, because I feel like that's a great book as well. And then as far as Superman stuff, like, I feel like, oh my God, there's one that Jeff Loeb did that is amazing. And it's, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's basically like the build-up of Superman. It's basically Smallville almost, like, in theory. Like, it shows you him as a young kid and growing up and all that stuff. And
well, I will be getting them. Trust me, I'm going to read up. I don't want to be seen as the kind of one-sided guy. I want to kind of learn. I do. What can we bring up one point? We haven't mentioned him. Lex Luthor or Alexander Luthor in this film. What was
I was a little. I went in not expecting a lot. I was like, a lot of people liked him, and I can see why. A lot of people didn't like him, and I can see why. I was just like, he's there. I mean, the problem with him to me is he's inconsistent in the way he acts, which could totally make sense considering he turns out to be completely not. I don't want to say insane, but he's a little crazy, and it's like crazy people don't act logical. But even then, it's like 1 minute he's a smart-ass entrepreneur from San Francisco or something. Totally, he has a basketball and he has a basketball court in his office, and I'm like, that's totally what somebody his age like. It came
up kind of like Google or social media-esque. Like I felt like when you went to Let's Court, it reminded me of like what you would think if you went to Facebook or Google or something like that.
And I totally like that. That's totally modern times type of thing. And then the next minute he's just like totally crazy and dark. And then finally at the end he just totally snaps in prison and he's like, he's coming, oh my god, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, and this is where, because when we walked out of the theater, my wife said it to me like, is he supposed to be like that? Like the only Lex that she's ever saw was from Smallville, and I was like,
Didn't see Kevin Spacey?
Yeah, and I thought he was great. I'm not going to take anything wrong. I thought he was great, but I feel like Smallville's not Lex Luthor. I don't think that was ever Lex. The original Lex Luthor was a mad scientist, and he evolved over time to be this billionaire Donald Trump type character. I feel like that's where they're leading. They start off where he's kind of like the quirky mad scientist type guy. He goes to jail. When he comes out of jail, like when Lex has his hair, he's kind of like goofy, quirky, like not, but when he goes bald is when it's like a changing almost, and it's when he becomes this sociopath, like in terms of like, I'm going to go the other way and I'm going to manipulate stuff to take stuff down. And
like Clark taking off the glasses almost. Yeah.
And he starts to lead that way. I feel like when you see him again, probably Man of Steel 2, that's more the Lex Luthor you're going to get. You're going to get like, oh, I need to get out of here, so I'm going to make people think that I'm okay. I'm going to rehabilitate. Oh, I made mistakes and I messed up and I want to change for the world and I want to do the betterment of the world. But in the meantime, he's got all this crazy stuff going on behind the scenes to manipulate Superman and try to get his ultimate goal is to take Superman down. And it's not. Lex is the type of guy, and I think this was Lex's origin story, and they haven't gotten to where we want him to be. Ultimately, he will be Tony Stark of Age of Ultron, where he thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks he's saving the world, but ultimately he's just a villain, and he don't see that he's a villain. He doesn't see what he's doing is wrong. He thinks that he knows better than everybody else what the world needs, and he's trying to accomplish it. I think that's what everybody expected to see immediately from here, and that's not what they were doing. This was his origin story, and I think in future, in future movies, you'll see that Lex Luthor portrayed. I just don't think this was the time or the place for it just yet. So, and he does like uncover Doomsday and all that stuff in the comics and gets him because he wants to kill Superman ultimately. Yeah. Like he feels like, I'll be the world's protector. We don't need a Superman. I can do all this, and I'll show the world that I can do this. Yeah. That's ultimately what it all boils down to.
Nice.
Okay, so I think we kind of all got what we had to say.
Pretty much,
Let's just go back. Like, ultimately, what's your vibe on this movie? Alan, again, where are you at with this?
As I say, I don't hate it. I don't want people to think I hate it. I think I came out of it, like I said, the same way I came out of Man of Steel. It is what it is. There are going to be people that love it. There are going to be people that hate it. I, on the other hand, don't really care about it either way. I can see great threads for the rest of the universe in Batman and Wonder Woman. and I look forward to seeing their standalone films, along with all the kind of other stuff that's going to come from DC.
Joey, where are you at?
I really liked it, of course, and I'll definitely watch it again multiple times because it's one of those movies you got to watch multiple times. And I do have problems with it, of course. I do think it is a rather flawed movie, but especially after talking to you, I think I like it more now because I was just thinking, what's Bobby, this guy who's like 100 years old, has been reading DC Comics since they first started coming out. What's he gonna think of this movie?
Wow.
And then it's like, of
Grandpa
course,
Bobby.
yeah. And it's like now I think I'm more mad at people who don't really like this movie because they'll use that, oh, it's not like the comic book's excuse, and I'm like, well,
It is.
it is.
They,
I mean, when you said Superman has killed Zod before Man of Steel, I'm just even more mad at people who got mad about that because I'm like, you don't know Jack.
Yeah. It's funny. People, they just don't. They think they know, But I'm sorry. When you watch Smallville, when you watch Christopher Reeve, that's a small piece of what these guys are. You got to think. There's 75 years of Superman in comic books. You have not seen everything. There is nobody that has seen it all. Like, there's still stuff that people don't realize. And it's not that they don't realize. Maybe you did see it. You just forget it's there, and you have to be rekindled to it. And that's ultimately where it is. Prime example was today. Like, when I started pulling out the comic, when I'm taking pictures of the comic, went downstairs, I'm like, if you have not read Dark Knight, and you can't go by the animated movies, because the animated movies they're good, they're very close, but they're not it. They don't show that violent, super, ultra violent Batman. That's where
he's still commenting, by the way, and he just is annoying.
No, I just
if he doesn't get yeah, don't worry about him anymore.
Yeah,
if he doesn't get a response, he'll still keep going.
Yeah, he's talking to himself.
Just stop.
He's just talking to himself. I'm done. I proved my point. I'm done. I'm out of there. So, but for me, ultimately, I feel like, if you're not sure who these characters are, I can't stress it enough. Go read Dark Knight Returns. Go read The Death of Superman. That'll give you the feel of where we're at with these characters and what we're going for in the future. I feel like Zack Snyder kept it as close as possible as he could to the comic books. Obviously, he's not able to go beat for beat everything because ultimately not everything, all the groundwork hasn't been laid in previous stuff. Like Frank Miller had all them years of groundwork laid that when he went, boom, here we go, it went. But I feel like they're gonna show a lot of stuff, and I'm really curious about the 3-hour version that I felt like should have hit the theaters. But I understand why it didn't. So that's all. Thank you guys for listening to us. If you listen to us on our podcast format of iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, this will go on video content as well on YouTube, so you can check that out. You can follow Alan _Paxton, Instagram, Twitter. Joey, you're at what, Ferris Wheel Pro?
That's me.
Okay, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. You can't just nod. People.
I know. No, I didn't even nod. I was like, that didn't sound like a question. It sounded like a statement.
I just want to make sure.
Joey,
I was like, what? I was like, why is he pausing?
I wanted to make sure. No,
he's an old man.
So, also check out Joey's YouTube channel, Ferris Wheel Productions, his podcast with Alan Plummer. What's up, Alan? Game and Talk. So that is all. Peace, mother